What's good, listeners? Our guest on Just Talking is director D.W. Thomas, joining the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. And as we get the red curtains open on D.W. Thomas's end, we are about to begin. I know she is. I'm sure she is.
Start that video.
I think there's like a grand appearance that's about to happen. Oh, here we are.
Here we are. Yay!
There we go, fam. How you doing?
Ooh, you have a nice little studio background happening here.
Yes, she does. And she's got the whole movie artwork and everything. But before we begin, let's show our CCS family what's good by playing a teaser of Too Late. So, Marissa, when you are ready.
Fredo.
Huh?
I asked for a Miss Blue. You want me to look like a corpse up here?
Yeah, I'll pretend I care. You're Violet, right? Is this your show?
Yeah, it's my show. I'm a booker.
You're Bob Divorce's assistant. So you booked Too Late, right?
That job is your whole life. It's not so bad. He's never gonna let you go. Value yourself, Vi. There's more to life than a boss who only lets you peek inside the party but never invites you in.
Violet, don't forget. Dark of the Moon.
Showtime. Just don't make him mad, right? I mean, if Bob's not happy, nobody's happy.
Uh-oh. We got a special film out there right now, and we're beyond stoked to have director D.W. Thomas with us live on the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. And I just have to start this off, D.W., because has anyone ever told you that you look like Claire from Resident Evil, the video game series?
No, thank you, though.
Your eyes. Your eyes are spellbounding. I just had to say that, like, right at the top of the show. You look like the perfect Claire, and I could see where you probably get that horror, because you got Claire sees the vision before it even happens. She even sees the horror, and it's my understanding, though, DW, that you were a film editor for 20 plus years, and you spent a lot of your time making other people's dreams work. But is Too Late your directorial debut?
Yes, that's right. I've been editing other people's stuff. Us editors, we like to affectionately say that we polish turds. But so after 20 years of polishing other turds, I was like, it's time for me to polish my own. But
Fancy.
Yeah, it's my first.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And what was it like to step on set knowing that you're about to direct a full-length film?
Oh my God. It was so much fun, because as an editor, I always have to kind of just rely on what other people give me. And so as the director, I had to rely on myself. And for the first time, I was like, all right, I'm going to get all of those scenes that I wish I had as an editor. And now I'm the only one to blame if I don't get them. So it was so much fun. Yeah.
I believe it. And, it's such a wacky, but such a very innovative and different approach to the horror comedy that I haven't seen before. And how did you come up with the concept to create a horror monster flick evolving Los Angeles comedy scene, like the one that we obviously live in right now?
Well, yeah, there are already a lot of monsters, literally, in the comedy scene. But it started with me and my husband. My husband did stand up for a long time, and we wanted to make a movie with Ron Lynch. And so we were like, let's come up with an idea that we could conceivably shoot at a low budget, and that could be a lot of fun and reminiscent of the movies that I loved growing up, like Gremlins and
I love the Gremlins. That's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed your film. I laughed through the whole thing. And now I'm like, yes, the Gremlins. Like, you took from my childhood too. I love that movie.
Yes. But it's not total horror. It's fun, and it has elements that are, campy, but still has like a message. And that's what I wanted to do. And so that's sort of how it all started coming together.
Absolutely. And you just sort of mentioned just now that your husband, you guys both collaborated on this film. Did I hear that correctly?
That's right. Yeah.
That is insane. So he was a stand-up comedian, and we see a lot of the stand-up comedian bits throughout this film. Have you ever attempted to try to do stand-up comedy?
Oh God, no. Yeah, I would be horrified.
It is hard.
off.
It is like I tried it. I took some stand-up comedy class. Not too bad, but there was so much work.
Marissa, we've heard your stand-up line on air before.
No, I'm telling you, it was so much work, and I'm kind of a lazy actor, and I was like, nah, like write my script, I'll memorize the lines, but like coming up with funny material is insanely hard.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah. All stand-up comedians, it is hard.
But I think,
and
Marissa,
you have to be so vulnerable, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And DW, and Marissa's getting to my point, but I can't speak for her. But I did find the stand-up comedy in your film Too Late quite refreshing, actually, because the comedic timing didn't come across as if like a screenwriter wrote this or someone who's like never done stand-up. So it leads me now to my question, now that I noticed that your husband now was, or maybe still is, a stand-up comedian. Did he write these comedic bits for the film, or did you audition like a series of stand-up comedians to, you know, fill the void of your film?
Yeah, actually, he gave me a list of stand-up comedians that he knew doing stand-up. And so I got to choose my favorites. And so they used their own material. And that was something we really wanted. We wanted to have an authentic stand-up vibe, because there's so many movies about stand-up where it's written and, you know, it can be funny, but you're like, it just doesn't quite feel like a stand-up joke, because stand-up comedians, they perfect their comedy over thousands and thousands of hours in front of live audiences. And they know when they're bombing or they know when they're doing well. And so they know how to read an audience. And you can't get that from like writing a joke, you know, a stand-up joke, and then having an actor say it. So
the orgasm one, without giving away the joke, was so funny. Yeah. And I was like, so true. I felt seen. I totally felt seen when that joke came out. I was like, very true.
But DW, as someone who has directed only a short film, nothing nearly to the extent that you have done with the full-length film. So let me just get this straight. You, as the director of Too Late, you allowed comedians to say whatever jokes you wanted in your film without any kind of review or approval process? You just took a risk?
Yes, I did. That's part of it, though. That's like the fun, because, you know, it's also like a coffee shop show. You never know what these stand-ups are going to say. Sometimes they're way wild and off the wall, and sometimes, you know, it bombs. And I wanted it to feel real. And they did give me 5 minutes. So I did get to choose my favorite out of the 5 minutes and then cut that in. But for the most part, yeah, I just wanted them to have fun.
Yeah, you're getting exactly to my point, because I was just thinking in my head as you were just telling me this, this is very gutsy. I don't know too many directors pulling the move that you just did on your own film, but it clearly worked. But did you have a mischievous plan, because you were a film editor for like 20 plus years, so you were able to trim, or what you call it, polishing the turd. We're not cutting it, just polish the turd. But did you feel like you had to do any of that with any of the comedians' jokes to make the film work for you?
Oh, well, you know, editing, comedy is all about editing. And so of course, editing plays a huge part in getting the jokes to land. But for the stand-up, they're all veterans. And so they have the right pace and timing, and it, you know, they made it really easy on me.
Did any comedian come back at you and go, did you not like my joke? Clearly I saw the film during the premiere and like, it's not there. Did you get any kind of feedback from any stand-up comedian?
No, they're all really happy. They're all excited about it. And, you know, the comedians that we use, they're all so busy in comedy right now that they're just excited to be in it. So
that's great.
Yeah, nobody had any.
We had a comedian, Marcus Hawkins, on here, and his posts are all like, I'm back live, come see me, I can actually be seen, and versus just video, because he was doing some video stuff. And I have another comedians, a couple friends, that was all virtual, and they were like, they were missing that live audience to feed into the jokes, because it was feeling so static for them.
But that's an interesting point, Marissa. Did you film this film before the pandemic, or was this kind of happening during it?
It was all before the pandemic. We did the ADR in March, right at the beginning of the pandemic. So we were lucky. We got everybody in right before they locked everything down. And yeah, so we were so lucky. And then we did the color correction and the sound design and the score during the pandemic. And those you can all do remotely pretty easily. So yeah, I don't know how you would film a film like this during the pandemic, just because of all those live
Just
scenes.
masks. All we see are masks. I can always tell the films that were filmed during the pandemic because there's a lot more mask stuff, and everything pre-pandemic, there's like not one mask, not a mention of it, nothing.
But DW, since we are started talking about the technicality of your film right now, I was taught in film school at Cal State Los Angeles that it is a huge no-no, like a big no-no, to direct and edit your own film, which leads me to my point. I'm assuming with your background in editing, you were directing too late in the mindset of an editor. Am I wrong?
Oh, I totally was. And I tried not to. I tried to pull back because I know that as well. It's like, don't try to edit it in your head as you're directing. But we had such a short shoot. It was 15 days that it was like, okay, you can edit it a little bit in your head because we just need to keep moving. You know, if you know you've got it, just keep moving. And so, yeah. And in terms of editing your own work, I totally get that. Thankfully I had my husband who could watch it and be my second set of eyes, because as an editor, that's like the most valuable part, is having fresh eyes. And when you're directing it as well, I fell in love with scenes that happened on the day, but maybe they didn't work in the edit. And so luckily I had my husband come in and be like, yeah, I don't think that quite works. And I'm like, but it worked. We worked so hard on it when we were shooting it. And he's like, yeah, but it doesn't work. So I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
He's like, just trying to be the brunt. I know that you usually, you do a really killer job with doing film edits, but as someone stepping into the director role, I think that's really cool to have a husband and wife kind of a collaboration, especially on your directorial debut. And there was a lot of great lines that you've written into this piece, and there was a particular line that resonated with me, and that is when Bob DeVore describes comedians in Too Late by saying the following quote: "Comedians aren't really people. People come and people go, and no one really cares," end quote. So I don't know if I'm getting onto something. You let me know if this was like a hidden metaphor you were trying to say in your piece, but are the comedians like a metaphor? Like, is Too Late a metaphor about comedians and aspiring filmmakers willing to do anything to sell their soul to the industry?
I think there's definitely an element of that. It's a different perspective. I think a lot of people do treat other people like that. But it was also to juxtapose with Jimmy, played by Will Weldon, where he can be the audience and be like, that's crazy. You're a narcissist. That's crazy. So yeah, and it's true in film, in comedy, people do come and go so fast. Like one minute you see somebody and then the next minute they've moved back to Oklahoma, because they didn't want to be in it anymore. It's a very hard industry. So
yeah, it's so true. And
yeah.
Marissa, I knew you were telling me something yesterday sort of on the lines of this, especially when it came to the main actress. Did you want to speak on that, Marissa? Oh, I think we lost her for a second. But I do want to say
I had to check on my child.
What?
She was like, Mom! In the room next door. And I was like, here I am. So what did you say, Chris?
No, I was saying you brought up a really great point when it came to, when I was talking about, comedians aren't really people. People come and people go, and no one really cares. And, and when we were talking about how the metaphor was selling the, selling
I heard all that.
The industry, you came up with a really good point yesterday when it came to the main actress in the film. Do you want to speak on that?
Because, I know you said that, DW, that it was kind of the metaphor for it. And for me as an actress, I really resonated with it, as far as like, I see so many of myself when I started out and my friends going and interning for free, which isn't a bad thing, you know what I mean? But sometimes you're being used, and there's always like, oh, we're going to connect you. Come work at this agency and I'll connect you. And all they want is like the free work. And I was totally seeing that where he didn't want to let her go, because then he'd lose his feeder. And he'd have to train somebody new. So why connect her with the industry? And for me, I was like, I feel you, Violet. I feel you. Just leave.
Yeah. No, and I've been sort of saying this whole time, like, never be too good at a job you hate, because if you're a really good assistant, they'll never let you
Yep.
go. And yeah, and that's true in a lot of different industries, but definitely you're right. I mean, my first real editing gig, I was getting paid like $750 a week, and I was in my 20s, and I thought that was great. I was like, oh, this is great. And then later on, I realized like, oh, that's pretty low for like an editing gig. And I was doing feature films and stuff. It was low budget, but I did learn a lot, and it was enough to get by as a 20 something. And so many jobs where people are like, yeah, and we'll give you lots of connections. It's going to be great.
And it's BS.
And nothing
Right.
comes of it.
If you go in it to something for a connection, you're going to walk away disappointed. Like, I know for me, I did a lot of like internings to learn the back behind the scenes. So I was really happy, but I see people all the time being like, oh, and they're going to introduce me. And I was like, probably not. And you are remembered by the job you're doing. So if I'm an actor, but I'm helping an agent, people are going to see me as the assistant, the PR. They're not going to see me as an actor.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you know what I gotta say,
DW, very good.
But I do have to say, DW, obviously I can see it on your computer screen right behind you. We're looking at Bob DeVore, and I've been kind of contemplating about this. I don't even know what he's supposed to be. Like, to me, Bob DeVore looks like a mashed potato of Wolverine and the vampire smushed together, or he looks like Bob DeVore's neck is like Thanos' scrotum. I really can't come to terms what he is. So, DW, what is he supposed to be? Is he a gremlin? Is he a warlock?
He is one of those mythical monsters that we haven't even seen yet, really. When we first started creating him, we did some research into like folklore, and we did find a monster, an Aboriginal monster called now I'm gonna forget the name, the Yaramayahu, I think it is. And this creature will swallow up its victims and then actually spit them out. And if he swallows you 3 times, you become one. So we were like, oh, what an interesting
That's so cool.
concept.
I've never heard of that monster. That is so cool. No, I researched. I like monsters.
And he's a funny looking monster.
Yeah. Oh, I have to look that up. And I know your movie actually debuts out today, where people can actually see it today for the first time.
Yes, we are out. We're on digital platforms, Vudu, everywhere you buy or rent movies, and we are in select theaters. So you can check us out on our website at tothemovie.com. And yeah.
That's amazing, DW. But before we get you going, because I do have a couple minutes left with you, I did want to tell you something that I really wanted to share with you because, like I said before, I think there's something really special going on with Too Late that I don't necessarily know that you've been thinking about. And I want to just kind of ingrain this into your head because my first impression of Too Late was this movie could really work in a newly proposed format that's kind of starting to circulate nowadays, and that's called movie podcast. I don't know if you ever heard about any of these kind of talks recently. But I really thought Too Late could work because you don't necessarily need all the practical cosmetics or the killing in action. And you do a really good job even in your own film. But have you ever considered indulging in this kind of roadmap? Like, it's kind of like the radio plays are starting to become a new thing in the 21st century.
Oh yeah, actually I haven't heard of the movie podcast, but I love it. I love radio plays. I love them. And yeah, maybe that's cool.
You might have to consider it. I'm telling you, it's becoming such a big thing. I know Spotify is starting to pick up a lot of seasons. Like they're trying to test out television series to be on Spotify so that if it becomes successful on their platform, they develop it into a big budget, television series. So you never know, DW Thomas. You got something very special in the works.
We'll take 10% if you sell that idea.
No, just 2%. Just 2%.
No, 10. We'll just
but I do want to say you've already shouted out the film, but you've already let the people know what's good. It's out today. But are you considering a sequel? Just let us know during the last 30 seconds. Are you considering that?
There's always a consideration of a sequel. That's why we left her a little Alyssa or Violet at the end. We don't really know what happened to her. Maybe she's become the next Bob. We don't know. So there's definitely room.
That's right. Well, DW Thomas, we want to thank you again for joining the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. Go ahead and check out her brand new film directorial debut, Too Late, out now on all streaming services and in select theaters. Thank you again, DW Thomas.
Ciao.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Peace.